They actually have highlighted these ideas. The first point is, how do you lead a city that is focused on improving its community or people's lives? How do we ensure that this process of urbanization is focused on improving or enhancing the livability of the city? I think it has to be people-centered, and every process of development has to be focused around that, and that is really good urban governance. Secondly, we need to ensure that this good urban governance does not allude to populism, but it utilizes the political capital, social capital, economic financial capital to invest both in the current and the long-term strategic development of the city. So because it's important that we think of cities as engines of socioeconomic transformation, not only for the shorter term, but actually much more importantly for the longer term. And this is where the public good and the private good come to interface. How do you ensure that the different forces or sources of capital, rather from the private sector, merge or work well with the public sector? How do you ensure that social issues and environmental issues are all interconnected? And that calls for effective leadership. I think the other point that was mentioned was around how do we ensure that good leadership is nurtured. And good leadership is not only about public leadership. When you talk about governance, we're talking about, yes, government, which has to set the right policies and the framework, but you want to have good leadership also in the private sector, in civil society, in youth, in women. How do you ensure that there has to be a nurturing of that process? Secondly, there has to be planning, and that planning has to be based on a real good big vision. I like the thing that they've come up with, which is not maybe new, but maybe as they explain it, you feel that they understand what they're talking about. And this is, if you're thinking of a city that's going to be competitive globally, you had better think big. But also you should realize that you will not survive only by competing. Actually, you should be building your competitiveness around your own uniqueness of character, but also around your own capability to collaborate better. Because you realize that in a city you cannot lead by isolating yourself. You lead best by connecting yourself. How do you connect yourself? From within, then between cities, amongst in the regions, and globally. And I think it's really important. I like what they mentioned here, one of them who said that it would be good for such a platform to be created at city level, at regional level. I think that's a very good spirit, because it's good for leaders to recognize that what they're able to pick from here should not be for their own sake. They should be facilitators of that, and they should encourage others to join, knowing very well that what you're thinking of developing certainly will only be achieved if it continues way beyond our existence in office.